sat quietly in my two-bedroom apartment on the 18th floor, right in the heart of downtown Chicago. Outside the window, the season's first snow fell silently, blanketing rooftops and cars lined up neatly along the curb. In my hands were two first-class plane tickets to Rome. The flight scheduled for December 12th, exactly 3 days before my mother's 60th birthday. I'm Ella, 36, communications director for a major consumer brand. Good job, stable income, clean, organized apartment, but in my mother's eyes, it's all still not enough. She never missed a chance to remind me, a decent woman knows how to step back and care for her family, not run around in tight dresses and boardroom meetings on top floors. I used to think that if I tried hard enough, she'd change. But after more than 30 years of living with that expectation, I've come to understand that some people are born to demand, and I, unfortunately, am her favorite target. Ella, what did you make this coffee with? My mother asked, setting the cup down like it had just burned her. It's that organic Italian roast. You used to say you liked it. Liked it before I realized it's as thin as dishwater. I clenched my fist under the table, steadying my voice. Mom, I need to talk to you, seriously. She raised an eyebrow and crossed her arms. That pose always meant I was walking into a cross-examination. I got up, walked into my bedroom, and came back with a pale yellow envelope. I opened it and carefully pulled out two plastic-sleeved tickets. This is your early birthday present. She took them, her eyes scanning the bold letters. Chicago, Rome, first class, luxury airline. Her expression shifted instantly, from surprise to suspicion. Rome? I nodded. I remember when I was little, you used to flip through travel magazines and point to the Colosseum, saying, "One day." I figured it's time. That day became real. 2 weeks in Rome. I booked a hotel, got us a suite with a balcony overlooking the Tiber. Everything's set. She set the tickets down, her finger tapping the edge of the table. 2 weeks? You expect me to drop everything and fly to Italy for a vacation? I swallowed the rising disappointment. I checked already. You don't have any doctor appointments or major plans that week. I just hoped we could go together. A fresh start. Silence for a moment. Then she sighed and picked up the tickets again. First class, balcony view, impressive. But I can't go to Italy wearing these old clothes, Ella. I won't be mistaken for some tacky tourist. I reached into my purse, pulled out a small black box, and placed it in front of her. Inside was a $3,000 gift card from her favorite boutique on Michigan Avenue. I already thought about that. For the first time that afternoon, she smiled. A real smile, not sarcastic, not forced. You really do know how to surprise me. I smiled back, though I didn't feel relief. With my mother, kindness was always expected as a duty, never appreciated as a choice. I want this trip to be different, Mom. Not just a vacation. I want us to understand each other better. Maybe, she said, grabbing her purse. But if I'm going to Rome, I'll need a new suitcase. Burgundy, the kind with 360-degree spinner wheels, and a silk scarf. Italians love fashion. I walked her to the door. Just before stepping into the elevator, she turned around and gently patted my shoulder. I know you've been trying, Ella, even if I don't always say it. The elevator doors closed. I stood there for a moment, feeling something unfinished, as if I had traded something deeply important for a brief flicker of closeness. Back in the kitchen, I dumped the remaining coffee down the sink. The brown liquid swirled down the drain, carrying with it a sliver of hope I had only just dared to feel. Only 7 days until Rome, and I wasn't sure if it would be a trip or the final lesson. 4 days later, my living room looked like a mini Bloomingdale's showroom. Shoeboxes, designer bags, gowns draped over the stair railing. My mother, Lorraine, sat on the bench, wearing her reading glasses and inspecting clothing tags with the scrutiny of a customs officer. This lace is a bit rough. Real Italian lace should be soft like water. Are you sure this is from France? I stood by the dining table, checking my packing list on my laptop. Plane tickets. Hotel room. I'd booked a suite overlooking Piazza Navona. Breakfast, in-room. Airport pickup included. Passport, insurance card, scanned documents. all saved in a secure drive, with a copy sent to my best friend Jenna, the only person I fully trusted. My phone buzzed, a message from Jenna. Got all your files, emergency $2,000, 0 cents also transferred. Call me if anything feels off. I replied. Thanks, guardian angel. Mom's now requesting mink hats and GPS-tracked luggage. She sent back a single my roll emoji. I was used to my mother's endless demands, but this time felt different. She wasn't criticizing as harshly as usual. Instead, she layered compliments with an ever-growing list of essentials. Ella, I think you should book us facials at the hotel spa. Italians really care about skin, and you know how dry the air gets on long flights. I had a flicker of frustration. I'll check their services. But didn't you once say true beauty comes from within? Well, yes, but that doesn't mean you can't help the outside a little. That night, after she left, I called Jenna over video. Her face popped up, wrapped in a towel turban, sipping hot cocoa. You okay? Okay, in the sense that I've nearly screamed 3 times because she wants a limited edition LV suitcase. She also wants to bring her own essential oil diffuser to make the hotel smell right. Jenna burst out laughing, then softened. Ella, I know you want to fix things. But don't forget, she's Lorraine, the same woman who made you write a letter of apology for breaking her nail when you were 10. I nodded, locking eyes with the screen. I remember. That's why I'm ready. Everything's in place. I've planned for every outcome. If something goes wrong, I'll walk away. But I need to try. One last time. And I'm your backup, just like always. The next morning, I got the hotel's final confirmation email. I printed it out and slipped it into the folder I'd packed in my carry-on. This time, I wasn't letting anyone else hold my documents. Never again would I let anyone repeat what happened during that New York trip when I was 22, when my mother accidentally left my wallet at the airport and then went shopping in Soho all afternoon. 3 days before departure, my mother called at 8 a.m. Ella, I think I should get my hair done before the flight. Oh, and I want another clutch. Real leather, emerald green, eye-catching, but not flashy. Did you order it yet? I paused my quarterly budget draft and leaned back in my chair. Mom, I think we've prepared plenty. This is a vacation, not a fashion show. But Italians are different. They judge a lot by appearances. You don't want me to be pitied, do you? I bit my lower lip. Not from anger, but sadness. Even at 36, even after living independently for nearly half my life, she still managed to hit my deepest weakness. The need to be seen. To be enough. I sighed, typed a few lines into the browser, and searched for the best clutch I could find that still fit within budget. And as the screen flashed, "Order successful," I found myself wondering, was I planning for a beautiful vacation, or climbing the final steps toward realizing I was investing in something beyond saving? I glanced at the clock for the 11th time in 30 minutes. 6:15 a.m. Gate D5 at O'Hare International was growing more crowded. Passengers lined up to check in for Flight 724 to Rome. My mother was still nowhere to be seen. I'd called her 4 times, sent 3 messages, even reached out to Aunt Carol, hoping she was with Mom the night before. No one answered. No reply. When the check-in clerk asked if I wanted to check my bag first, I forced a calm voice. My mother's still on her way. We're traveling together. The woman gave a robotic smile and stepped back. I tapped out another call. Still the same flat voice from the operator. The person you are calling is currently unavailable. Please try again later. A chill ran down my spine, not from the terminal's temperature, but from instinct. Opened my purse to double-check. Passport, wallet, boarding pass, backup bank cards. Everything still in place. But the unease refused to leave. At exactly 6:40, the boarding call echoed through the speakers. Final call for passenger on Flight 724 to Rome. Please proceed to the gate immediately. I had no choice. Swallowing the anxiety rising in my chest, I wheeled my suitcase toward the boarding gate, glancing back again and again, half expecting her to appear with some last-minute excuse. Traffic, dead phone battery, a sudden migraine. Nothing, just empty space. The plane left the runway as the city still slept. I sat by the window, watching the pale sky emerge to the east, gripping my phone like a last lifeline. Inside, one question spun endlessly. Did she do it on purpose? 8 hours later, we landed at Leonardo da Vinci Airport. I cleared immigration, dragged my suitcase toward baggage claim. My body ached, but a fragile hope lingered. That I'd see my mother waiting here. That all of this had been some strange misunderstanding. She wasn't there. I was about to turn when someone tapped my shoulder. "Excuse me, miss?" A security officer stood in front of me, face serious. "Are you Alec Graves?" I nodded. "We found this near the restroom in Terminal 3. Is it yours?" He held out a red leather wallet. "Mine." I snapped it open. Empty. Passport, credit cards, cash. Gone. That sinking feeling crushed me. My heart pounded. No, 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 no. This can't be. I tore through my purse, the one where I'd locked everything before boarding. Also empty. This wasn't a petty theft. Everything had been secured, hidden. Only one person had access. And I remembered. My mother had stayed the night at my apartment. She had a key. She knew where I kept everything. At that moment, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. "You always wanted to play the hero, Ella. Then fly solo. I'll enjoy the rest. Call it my reward for 30 years of thankless sacrifice." My knees gave out. I collapsed onto the floor of the Rome airport terminal, not caring about the stairs. Her words stabbed straight through, not just betrayal, but from the one person I had once hoped would forgive, understand, and walk beside me. She hadn't forgotten the flight. She had skipped it. And worse, she had left before me. A middle-aged woman in airport uniform walked over. "Miss, are you okay?" I looked up, tears still trapped in my eyes. I've been abandoned. My mother took everything. She's gone." The woman hesitated for a second, then gently sat beside me. "I'm Carla. I've worked here 12 years. Trust me, you're not the first. But if you'd like, I'll help." I looked at the stranger before me. A flicker of warmth broke through the numbness. "I'm Ella, and yes, I think I need help and a new plan." I sat in the waiting room of the American Citizen Services office in Rome, eyes locked on my phone charging in the outlet nearby. Carla, the woman who had helped me at the airport, was speaking to a consulate officer who confirmed a temporary passport would be issued within 48 hours. Carla returned, placing a cappuccino in front of me. "For now, they're labeling it as suspected familial financial fraud. But to speed things up, they'll need someone back in the States to verify your info." I opened my contacts, hands trembling slightly as I tapped to video call Jenna. After 3 rings, her familiar face filled the screen, eyes instantly alarmed. "Ella? Oh my God, where are you? What happened?" I gave a brief rundown. My mother had taken everything, left the airport, and was now somewhere in Italy. Jenna was silent for a moment, then quickly turned to her laptop. "I'll track her credit card activity and the GPS tag I slipped into her suitcase, remember?" My eyes widened. "You did what?" I knew you didn't want to believe it, but I saw this coming. Wherever she uses those cards, whichever hotel accepts them, I'll know. Less than 5 minutes later, Jenna emailed me an address. Palatino Hotel, Trastevere District. One of the most luxurious places in Rome. Use the secondary card to book the presidential suite, under your name. I laughed. A bitter kind of laugh. Of course she did. Jenna tilted her head, her tone firm. "Listen, if you really want to confront her, I'll activate Plan B." I nodded. Plan B? Once a running joke between us, now a lifeline. It included copies of my passport, credit agreements, ID verification documents, and evidence that my mother had borrowed my identity years ago to open high-end store accounts. Carla, still standing beside me, placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're not alone. I know a manager at the Palatino Hotel. Someone who takes reputation very seriously." An hour later, I walked across the marble-floored lobby. facing the front desk, where a young employee gave a polite nod. "Good evening, Ms. Graves. We were informed of the situation." A tall man in a sharp gray suit stepped out from an office behind the counter. "I'm Marco D'Angelo, the hotel manager. Please, come with me." I followed him inside, Carla and a consular officer joining. Marco invited us to sit, then opened a folder. "Mrs. Lorraine Graves arrived this morning and used a card under your name to reserve the room, requesting a 3-night advance transfer. However, we received a fraud alert from the bank thanks to your friend's timely intervention." I pulled out my phone and presented the power of attorney Jenna had prepared, along with ID copies and a verification letter from the U.S. consulate. Carla carefully reviewed each document. Marco watched me silently. "She's not currently in the room, but we can suspend her access if you confirm the details." I took a deep breath and replied firmly, "Do it. And one more thing." That evening, I sat in a small conference room on the 6th floor of the Palatino, eyes fixed on the live stream from the hotel lobby. Marco had arranged for discreet staff coordination. Carla sat beside me. Jenna joined via Zoom. Around 8 p.m. my mother appeared. She wore the sapphire satin dress I had once planned to give her for her birthday dinner, now flowing under chandelier lights like a cruel reminder. "She's asking for the most expensive Italian wine on the list," Marco whispered. I stayed silent, but not for long. It was time to flip the script. "Now," I said, "let her know all charges have been canceled. If she wants to stay tonight, she'll have to verify her ID at the front desk using real documents." Marco nodded. We looked at each other. No words needed. We both knew the game had changed. I stepped out of the elevator in the Palatino's ground floor, wearing a simple, fitted black dress and my hair in a sleek updo. My heels tapped softly across the marble as Marco walked beside me, holding his earpiece. "Mrs. Lorraine is at table 8 by the large window. The wine's just been served. She has no idea what's coming." I nodded silently. My hand tightened around the deep red clutch. Inside were detailed records of every fraudulent transaction my mother had made under my name in the past week, along with security footage of her using the fake card. La Font Aurelia restaurant sparkled with candles and glass chandeliers. The atmosphere was almost suffocating in its elegance. Suits and gowns shimmered under soft lights. No one suspected this place would soon host a real drama. I walked in slowly. Lorraine sat upright, holding a glass of deep red wine, speaking animatedly to 2 older French couples. Her voice rang out clearly. "My daughter and I came to Rome to celebrate, but she was tired from the flight, so I made the reservations. She's successful, but a bit overly cautious. Good thing I know how to handle these things." I stopped directly behind her. "That's right. You've always known how to handle things, especially when they're not yours." She froze. All eyes at the table turned toward me. I stepped forward with a calm smile. "Sorry to interrupt dinner, but I think everyone deserves to know the truth." Lorraine tried to compose herself, placing her wine glass down. "Ella, what are you doing here? Aren't you staying elsewhere?" "No, because I have no passport, no money, no credit card. Remember who took them?" Her face paled. The French man beside her frowned. "Madame Lorraine, is she really your daughter?" I pulled a folder from my clutch and placed it gently on the table. "This is a copy of my passport, stolen by my mother to check in at this hotel. Here's security footage of her swiping a fake card under my name. And here's the statement showing she's spent over $6,000 in the past 3 days. On a card that wasn't hers." "Mother, what kind of scene is this?" my mother hissed, still trying to maintain decorum. I didn't flinch. "A scene? You left me at O'Hare. Made me fly alone. Then came here to enjoy everything under my name. Now it's your turn to face the consequences." The restaurant manager, Matteo, stepped in, looking tense. "Madam Graves, the hotel has notified us that your credit card has been canceled. To continue your meal, we'll need an alternative payment method." My mother sat still. Her hand reached for her purse. When she opened it, there were only a few loose euros and the fake card I had replaced this morning, a flawless replica. Jenna rushed in from the States. She stared at it, then looked up, voice cracking. "You set me up?" I replied, eyes cold as steel. No, you set yourself up. I just brought the truth to light. Mateo bowed slightly. If there's no valid payment, I'm afraid we'll have to ask you to leave the restaurant. Whispers stirred around us. Someone raised a phone to record. My mother glanced around, scrambling to salvage her dignity. I'm a VIP guest here. I'm staying in the presidential suite. Marco approached from a distance, standing behind me. Lorraine Graves has had her room access revoked due to fraudulent activity. The room is currently being inspected, and all belongings will be transferred to the front desk. Or to the authorities, if necessary. I looked at my mother one last time. I don't expect an apology, but I do want you to remember what it feels like to be abandoned, humiliated, and dismissed, just like I've felt for the past 30 years. She stood abruptly, brushing off the stairs around her, storming past me like a wave of fury. But I didn't flinch. For the first time, I didn't lower my head. Marco turned to me. Everything has been documented. If you'd like to proceed with legal action, we will assist. I nodded, my hands trembled, but inside I had never felt steadier. That night, Rome glowed under the lights, the Tiber River shimmering under the deep winter sky. In the grand lobby of the Palatino Hotel, the charity gala, La Notte delle Stelle, Night of the Stars, was in full swing, drawing hundreds of elite guests, artists, donors, and what the Italian press called the economic crème de la crème of Europe. I stood backstage behind the main stage, a black satin shawl draped over my shoulders, gripping a wireless microphone. Jenna was video calling from Chicago, watching the scene through the lighting control room monitor. Marco stood next to me, syncing with the tech crew. On stage, the orchestra had just finished, and the MC stepped forward. And now, our special guest will share a story both powerful and necessary to hear. I walked out. The spotlight hit my face. All eyes turned to me. Good evening. My name is Ella Graves, and I have something to share, not about fashion or finance, but about the truth. A truth involving someone present here tonight, under a name that isn't hers. Lorraine Duval. I raised my hand. The massive LED screen behind me lit up. The first video was footage from the hotel camera. My mother, Lorraine, using a fake credit card to check in, presenting my passport, speaking to the front desk calmly, and the audio rang out. I'm Ella Graves. Please charge everything to my primary account. Gasps filled the room. I continued. That's my mother. The woman who left me at the airport, took my documents, drained my bank account, and flew ahead to Rome. And this isn't the first time. The screen shifted to evidence. Designer purchase receipts in Florence, under my name, unauthorized withdrawals from my former company's credit fund, even a copy of a loan agreement from 2005, signed with my aunt's forged signature. A sharp gasp echoed in the audience. From the second row, a woman stood, white hair pinned in a bun, holding a stack of papers. I recognized her instantly. Aunt Martha, my mother's sister. I'm Martha Duval, Lorraine's older sister, and I have proof she forged my signature to mortgage the family home in 2010, then disappeared with the full amount. The murmuring intensified. Marco quickly handed the mic to a middle-aged man on the opposite side of the stage. I'm David Lang. Lorraine once fundraised for a nonprofit I run. After 6 months, over $200,000 vanished, and she became unreachable. I looked down into the audience where my mother sat in the VIP section, dressed in a sparkling black gown, her face pale. She stood, voice shaking. This is slander. None of this is legally proven. Ella, you're destroying me out of jealousy. I stepped forward and signaled to the officers Marco had invited in advance. 2 plain-clothed Rome police officers approached from either side of the room. No, Mom, this is justice, and I gestured to the witnesses. They're the ones you left behind. Just like you left me. One officer read the arrest warrant in Italian, then in English. Lorraine Duval, you are under arrest for identity fraud, financial fraud, and misappropriation of assets across multiple nations. You have the right to remain silent. My mother struggled, shouting, Ella, I'm your flesh and blood. You can't do this to me. I responded, my eyes locked on hers. You taught me how to survive. You just never thought I'd use that lesson to protect myself. From you! They led her away, under the lights, the cameras, and the stares of those she once manipulated. No more gowns, no more fake smiles, just a small woman clinging to a fading illusion. As the back doors closed, applause erupted, not for triumph, but for truth finally spoken. Rome's district courthouse sat nestled in a time-worn building covered in deep green ivy. Inside, the air was heavy with formality. I sat in the front row, eyes fixed on the witness stand. The defendant's seat was still empty, but soon, the sound of chains clinked down the left corridor. My mother, Lorraine Duval, entered, wrists cuffed in front, dressed in a pale gray prison uniform. No jewelry, no crimson lipstick, no smug grin. Just a 60-year-old woman with hollow eyes and a worn face. The courtroom was packed with her victims. Aunt Martha sat a few seats away. David Lang was next to her. Jenna, my best friend, had flown in from Chicago at the last minute, watching every detail from the back row. The trial of defendant Lorraine Duval, also known as Lorraine Graves, for charges of financial fraud, identity theft, international embezzlement, and obstruction of transnational investigation is now in session, the judge read in Italian, the translator quickly repeating it in English. My mother's defense attorney, a weary-looking man in his 50s, tried to open with mental health claims linked to marital trauma, but the judge cut him off, directing the proceedings to witness testimony. I was called first. I stood in the courtroom, took my oath, and began. From discovering my mother opened a credit card in my name at 17 to the loans she took under relatives' names before vanishing, I presented the stolen passport copy, bank reports, surveillance images, a confirmation letter from the U.S. Embassy, and proof that my mother had spent over $50,000 using my identity in just the last 3 months. My voice didn't shake. I had waited for this day for a long time. Aunt Martha testified next, presenting documents proving the family home was secretly mortgaged. David Lang submitted financial statements from the vanished charity funds. Another victim, Celia Stone, spoke about a fake investment worth $120,000, sold to her by my mother using a fabricated company website. My mother sat silently through it all. No anger, no tears. Occasionally she glanced at me, but not with blame, with an eerie, empty stare. On the third day, the judge declared, after reviewing the evidence, witness statements, and severity of the crimes, the court sentences Lorraine Duval to 20 years in prison, with no eligibility for parole for the first 15 years. Charges include identity theft, organized financial fraud, international asset misappropriation, and obstruction of international investigation. No one clapped, but the suffocating air of the past 3 days had been sliced clean. As the bailiff prepared to escort her out of the courtroom, she turned to look at me. For the first time, I saw tears in her eyes. Not the performative kind she used to summon, but real ones. Ella, her voice was so faint I had to lean in to hear, I don't know how to live any other way. I answered softly, I know. And that's exactly why you have to be here, so people like you don't get to keep hurting others. The bailiff led her away. The courtroom door closed behind her with a heavy thud. Around me, people exhaled. A few embraced quietly. Jenna came forward and hugged me tightly, whispering, You did the right thing. I held her gently. Doing the right thing didn't mean it was easy. But I knew then, the real ending wasn't the sentence. It was the liberation. 3 weeks after the trial, I was back in Chicago, standing by the window of my apartment, watching snow drift slowly down Michigan Avenue. For the first time in years, I didn't feel chased by something invisible, expectations, obligations, or sugar-coated lies. I placed a cup of hot tea on the windowsill and opened my laptop. The website Jenna and I had finalized the day before appeared on screen. Voices Unveiled, a support network for victims of financial abuse and family manipulation. My story was just one among hundreds being shared. People whose identities, trust, and voices had been stolen. We weren't just building an online forum. Jenna was launching a nonprofit legal aid group. Carla, the woman who helped me at the Rome airport, was heading the international outreach. I was taking the lead in emotional support, mentoring those just beginning to rise from betrayals they'd never dared to name. A knock at the door. A courier handed me a brown envelope from the International Women's Correctional Facility in Viterbo. I didn't need to open it to know what it was. I hesitated, then used a letter opener. Inside was a handwritten letter. The paper was yellowed, the handwriting unmistakably hers. Ella, if you're reading this, it means I've run out of excuses. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't believe I deserve it. But I want you to know this. You are the strongest person I've ever known. Maybe I tried to shape you into a better version of me, but you chose to be something else entirely. Better. Real. I once believed love was weakness, but you proved the opposite. You fought with truth, defended with kindness. You made me believe, too late, that what I couldn't do, you have done. Maybe that's the only thing I ever did right, raising the woman who would finally stop me. I don't hope to see you again, but I do hope you live the life I never could. Lorraine. I read it twice. There were no tears, no swelling music like in the dramas. I folded the letter and placed it in a small box with all the documents from the case, not to keep as a memento, but as a reminder that I didn't owe anyone the repair of a dream that had shattered long ago. A notification lit up on my phone, Jenna's message. Over 300 signups in just 2 days. A woman from New Jersey said she thought she was the only one whose mother used her identity to take out loans. I typed back quickly. No one is alone in the truth. We just need someone brave enough to speak first. That evening, we hosted a Zoom support session. More than 70 people joined, some from office chairs, others in their cars, some holding sleeping children. A man named Marcus shared how his ex-wife drained his bank accounts by forging his signature while he was hospitalized. A college student spoke about her godfather opening credit cards in her name when she was just 16. When I unmuted my mic, the room fell silent. I looked into the camera and said, I used to think telling the truth would mean I'd lose my mother forever. But the truth is, I never really had her, just a version I convinced myself was real. Now, I don't need to prove I'm enough. I just need to be honest. A few days later, I sat alone in Millennium Park behind the Harris Theater. Children skated, adults laughed. I looked up at the winter sky, feeling lighter than I ever had. Jenna arrived and handed me a cup of hot cocoa. You know, I've never seen you this at peace. I smiled. Because for the first time, I get to choose my own family. Not by blood, but by kindness. She nodded, raised her cup. To freedom and the truth. I clinked glasses with her. And to those who dare to say, I deserve better. That late winter afternoon in Chicago, I sat by the window of a small cafe on Clark Street, sipping an unsweetened latte. Outside, the sun was setting slowly behind the skyscrapers, painting a slice of sky orange. There was something about that moment that left me quiet, not from sadness, but from peace. A young woman walked into the cafe, notebook in hand, her hair tied up high. She sat at the table across from me, opened her laptop, and in a brief moment, our eyes met. In her gaze, I saw something familiar, quiet defiance, a hunger to be herself, to break free from someone or something that had held her back too long. I smiled at her. Silently, the way someone who has tasted freedom would smile at another standing on its threshold. I used to believe that if I was good enough, obedient enough, sacrificial enough, my mother would finally see me, finally acknowledge me. But she never did. People who live in manipulation can't see beyond themselves. It took me years to understand that twisted love is not love at all. It's a tool of control. And I've stopped needing it. Now, I don't need validation. I don't need late apologies. I am not my mother's daughter. I am me, a woman who rose from the wreckage and rebuilt her life with her own hands. That evening, I recorded a short video for the support network Jenna and I co-founded. I looked into the camera, my voice low but steady. I used to think revenge meant making the person who hurt me suffer. But it's not. The best revenge is when they no longer get to control how you feel. It's living free, living meaningfully, living better than they ever imagined. It's using your story to stop someone else from falling into the same trap. After the video, hundreds of comments poured in. People shared about abusive parents, manipulative partners, exploitative bosses. Each story was a piece of a bigger picture, a society slowly waking up and learning how to protect itself. A week later, I received a speaking invitation to an international conference on financial crimes. The letter was from the chief counsel of a global anti-fraud organization. He had been in the third row during my mother's trial. The letter read, "We don't just need laws, we need real people. Your story isn't just about justice. It's a reminder that every individual has the right to reclaim their dignity and live in the fullness of who they are." I nodded. I would go. One Sunday morning, Jenna and I moved into a small office near Daly Plaza, our new headquarters for Voices Unveiled. On the glass door, we placed a sign in both English and Spanish, "Where stolen voices are returned." When I walked in, I carried no more ghosts or grudges, only conviction and deep gratitude that I had survived and lived true. A month later, I walked alone along the shore of Lake Michigan. The waves lapped gently, children laughed in the distance. I stood still, hands in my coat pockets, face toward the horizon. A breeze swept through, carrying the scent of salt and thyme, and I understood what I once thought was a fight with my mother was really a fight to reclaim myself. I won, not because she lost, but because I no longer needed her to feel worthy. I won because I chose kindness over bitterness, resilience over defeat, and turned the darkest experience of my life into a light for someone else's path. I smiled, quietly, no audience needed, because I finally understood. True freedom doesn't come when someone forgives you. It comes the moment you stop asking for permission to be yourself. Ella's story isn't just a journey of escape from a manipulative mother. It's a powerful reminder that our past doesn't define our worth. In real life, some relationships trap us in guilt and distorted expectations. But we have the right to walk away, redefine ourselves, and live a life that's healthy, kind, and ours. No permission needed. Sometimes, the deepest revenge is simply living joyfully, authentically, and helping others avoid the pain you once endured. What do you think about Ella's journey and her final choice? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt, powerful stories about family, forgiveness, and inner strength.